Ladies, it's time to stop playing it small. In 2025, we are no longer going to be afraid of our beauty and our power, and we will be outshining everyone. Hear me loud and clear when I say this. You do not get a medal or some kind of cash prize for not living up to your full potential. And to that effect, no one is going to tell you that you're not. In fact, it's in others' best interest that us as Black women do not live up to our full potential. But we are no longer living that way in 2025 and beyond. As a former and still recovering play it small girl, I am here to give you some insight into the pitfalls of not living up to your full potential and also how we can get you there. There is no point in living if you're not actively seeking to improve your life and your circumstances. So, if you're ready to hear the truth and become everything that you know you can, subscribe to my channel and come with me on this journey. So I want to start off by talking about why I think we as Black women tend to play it small out in the world. I feel like we go through life trying not to cause trouble, trying not to be noticed, and basically just staying out of the way. I don't know about you, but this is something that I have always struggled with. And maybe it doesn't help that I am more on the reserved side, but I recently came to the realization that carrying that energy around no longer serves me and is instead a detriment to my life. And not to harp on this point, but as Black women, we are constantly being watched and surveilled whenever we are out and about. People are always looking at our hair, our makeup, our outfits, the way we carry ourselves. So I came to the conclusion that if people are going to notice me anyway, I might as well give them something to notice. And to me, that means presenting my best self at all times, at least when it comes to public spaces. So I literally cannot tell you the amount of times I've been out in public, like still looking pretty put together, but not done up in any sort of way, not putting too much effort, maybe just, filled in my brows, had some mascara on, and I was still receiving compliments and getting stared at. So this just goes to show that no matter what, we're always being watched. People can't help it. There is just something otherworldly and intriguing to people about the essence of a Black woman. So ladies, please use this to your advantage. It used to make me so uncomfortable when people would notice me and then maybe acknowledge my beauty or my outfit or the way I look or the way I did my hair and makeup that day. And, I would think, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm just me. But that's exactly it. You are you and nobody else is you. And while that sounds cheesy and cliche, it really is true. Until someone encounters you, they have not encountered anyone else like you. Another deterrent for me in the past from living up to my full potential was, unfortunately, the jealousy of other girls and women. Whenever I would show up to an event, even if it were something casual, I was wearing something basic, another girl always had to point it out. Things that have been said to me are, "Oh my gosh, of course you're going to show up looking good," or "Of course you look good." And I don't know how common this is, but whenever I have plans to go out with somebody, like a girlfriend, or just another girl that I'm like getting to know or whatever, they always ask me what I'm planning on wearing. You guys can let me know if this is a common thing. I don't know, but I'm not someone who asks other people what they're planning on wearing, because I genuinely don't care. I will look how I want to look, no matter what, no matter the occasion, no matter who I'm with. I value being authentic to myself. And if I'm going to dinner, like to a nice dinner or even a casual dinner, and the girl I'm going with plans to wear like baggy jeans or Adidas shoes or whatever, like I will still wear my mini skirt. Like I will still wear my heels. I will still, do my hair and makeup how I want to do my hair and makeup. And of course, this all comes down to jealousy, which I do plan on doing a video on, sharing my experiences with it and also how I deal with it now versus how I dealt with it in the past when I was more naive. So subscribe if you want to see that video. So with all that being said, I have some things that I've actively worked on and will continue to work on in the new year and beyond, to no longer be afraid of reaching my full potential. So, the first thing I encourage you to do is a life audit. A life audit is basically just taking inventory of each sector of your life, evaluating it, and seeing where you can improve, and even like reflecting, going back and seeing what didn't work. So, my personal sectors for my life audit would be like family life, friendships, my work slash career life. You can replace this with school, of course, if you're in school, health and fitness, beauty, and dating slash romantic life. Of course, you can add or remove any sectors that you'd like that would fit your life. So when doing the life audit, take inventory of how each section went in the past year. So let's take health and fitness since it's pretty universal. So some questions you can ask yourself are, what were my health and fitness goals for the year? And did I follow through on them? Did I stray from my plan? And if so, why did I stray from my plan? When I was staying consistent, what elements and factors in my life enabled me to do so? And what can I do to improve this part of my life in this new year? So for me, if I'm being completely honest, I spent a lot of money on Uber Eats and DoorDash this past year, especially in the second half of the year, which made me gain almost 10 pounds. And I mean, I was ordering delivery like every other night for almost 2 months straight. Yeah, it got pretty bad because I was going through a pretty stressful time in my life. But obviously that's no excuse. But for reference, I am 5'1", and before this, I weighed around 101 pounds, 102, before I started like this food app habit. And I ended up getting to 109, 110 by the beginning of November. And I know that may not sound like a lot, but as a petite woman, even 5 pounds can make a huge difference on my frame. And personally, I like to be between 100 to about 103, 104 pounds. That's where I feel my most confident. And I'm in no way endorsing a specific weight everyone has to be. That's just what I personally prefer on my body and where I know I feel my best and where I know I can project my best self out to the world. So I have since lost half of that weight that I gained, but it did not make me feel good doing that, ordering all that fast food and from restaurants, things that weren't healthy. So that could be something that I could write down in like the didn't work category of my life audit. Now, this may take some time doing this life audit, especially if you have like 5 or 6 sectors in your life that you're going to reflect on and create, new systems for and things like that. So I suggest you set aside about like 1 to 2 hours on a Saturday or Sunday to do this. I know it sounds like a huge task, but that is because it will yield huge results. When you have direction and know exactly what you're working towards, and not only that, but knowing what didn't work as well in the past, your future self will thank you for having foresight and saving her tons of time later. So the next point I have about how to no longer play it small is to be as unique as possible, but staying within the confines of what's deemed societally acceptable. I think this is a very important point because it sounds like one thing, but it actually means another. Ladies, we all know how society views Black women, and while I think that is changing, it is not changing fast enough for all of us to be perceived as individuals. So that being said, that does not mean in any way that you have to be this cookie cutter version of a leveled up Black woman. I have found that finding a balance between staying authentic to myself while playing within the confines of society will actually get me the best possible treatment. And I think that this is your best bet as a Black woman. I know this point is coming off a bit confusing, so let me explain a little bit more. I find that I'm my most confident and radiant self when I style myself the way that I like to, and I do my hair and makeup the way that I like, but also in a way that is socially acceptable. Like, for example, I love changing up my hairstyles because I'm personally a wig girl. I love my wigs, but I wear my natural hair out a couple times a year when the weather is temperate. But back to the point, I choose hairstyles that are fun enough for me to enjoy them, but nothing that is negatively eye-catching. So like I'll do a shoulder length honey blonde wig, or I'll do a long black wig with some honey blonde highlights, or even a slightly dark auburn hair color. Just whatever looks natural, but is still kind of expressing my sense of style. Another point about this is that I used to be scared to change my hair on a whim. whenever I was back in college, and even now that, I have my first corporate job. But then I realized nobody actually cares. No one is actually going to come up to me and say, hey, I noticed that over the summer you had a shoulder length honey blonde hair, and now you have long black and honey blonde hair. As long as it's tasteful and not outlandish, please express your style in the way that makes sense for you. Another example is my nails. So since starting my corporate job back in September, I thought that was the end of any other nail colors besides a French manicure or a light pink. But then I thought, why am I restricting myself? Who said those are the rules? I personally change my nails once a month and match them to the season or the holidays. So for the month of October, I had a burnt deep orange color. For November, I had like a dark navy blue color. And I think I did like dark brown as well. And then for December, I did like a dark red burgundy color because I was just really feeling like burgundy during December. So all of those were of a tasteful length, of course. I don't like nails that are too long anyways. And that was a way that I expressed myself. It was nothing too outlandish, nothing super eye-catching, but it made me happy. And then I actually have a recent real-life example. So I don't know if you guys know the band Paramore, but they're my favorite band. So I have all their records on vinyl, and they're always my top artist on Spotify at the end of the year and Wrapped. So I don't go around showing that side of myself. And why is that? It's because that's not the part of my personality that I want to lead with. Now, if it comes up in conversation, or it happens to be on topic, I will have no issue gushing about how much I love their music. That being said, one day, I was at work, I think this was like at the beginning of my job, so very early on, like the second week. I got tasked to go with my boss and a couple of other senior team members on my team to a meeting at a pretty notable firm. And as we were all in the Uber on the way there, one of the guys, he was white, not that that matters, but just for context, he was talking about how he was training for a marathon. And I hate running, something I will never do. I used to run track and field in high school. After that, I was completely done. But I do know that, you can't run without listening to good music. So then I asked him what he listens to on his runs when he's practicing for the marathon. And the first artist that came out of his mouth was Paramore. So up until this point, nobody on my team knew my musical taste or even that they're my favorite band. So then I turn to him and I say, "Did you say Paramore?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I say, "No way, they're my favorite band." And then we proceeded to have a conversation about their music, and I told him all about how I went to go see them in concert a couple of summers ago. So this isn't a topic I would have brought up out of nowhere. My love for Paramore or any other artists have technically nothing to do with my level up journey. But it is good to notice those pockets of conversation where you can squeeze in some facts about yourself so that people can see you as a dynamic human being. I think there's a misconception in the level up community that you can only be one thing and you can only live your life this way and look this way and have specific interests and hobbies. But that's simply not true. Actually, having diverse interests or hobbies outside of the norm and bringing them up in conversation when it's appropriate will actually be to your benefit. So if you're a huge gamer, bringing that up in conversation if the timing makes sense, or if you're into hiking or rock climbing, please don't hide those parts of yourself because you'll never know who you'll have things in common with. I don't look like a stereotypical Paramore fan, but that's the interesting part. My coworker probably was not expecting me to say that they're my favorite band. I think that I'm genuinely happy in my life right now because I'm no longer restricting myself in the way that I live my life and the way that I express myself. And when I'm happy, I radiate that out to the world, which the world then gives back to me in spades, which ends up making my life easier and better. So my advice is to conform to societal standards and rules to the point that it will improve your life, but also don't be afraid to go outside of the lines and do the things that make you happy and make you unique. The next thing I would say is to stop ignoring your passions and interests. If you're like me, you have a tendency to wait for everything to be perfect and to be 100% ready to pursue. But the thing is, that mentality is a trap. We have to let go of the conditioning we were brought up with to be perfect. There will never be the right time to do something or to pursue your dreams. So just start somewhere, especially if there is a low barrier to entry, like for example, starting a YouTube channel or starting your career as an influencer. If it's not going to take a huge financial investment, start today. You will never end up regretting trying something you've always wanted to, but you will always regret not starting or trying something you've always wanted to try. And lastly, be comfortable with receiving from others. Fun fact, the phrase, "I am open to receive," was actually my motto for 2024. If you grew up with emotionally and or physically absent parents like me and had to grow up as a hyper-independent kid, which I know a lot of us young Black girls do, unfortunately, then stop anything else you're doing right now and tune in intently to this point. There is nothing wrong with others doing things for you or getting things for you. Do not ever feel guilty for being catered to. I know the level up messaging is that you deserve everything and you deserve to be catered to, but if we're honest, how many of us feel 100% completely comfortable not lifting a finger in the presence of others? Sure, some of us might, and some of us might not. For me, sometimes there is a compulsion to always be of help and or to be physically useful. I know that this stems from my childhood for me. Luckily I grew up in a 2-parent household, but it might as well have been a no-parent household because while both my parents were out at work every day providing for the family, they had an almost 2-hour commute to work and basically a 2-hour commute home with traffic. So my older siblings and I were always tasked to fend for ourselves. I was packing my own lunch by the time I reached kindergarten. I would wake up and come home to an empty house almost every day of the week. I would cook my own dinners and do my own laundry as an 8-year-old. I had no one cheering me on at my school sporting events. And by the time I got my driver's license, it was like I might as well have been living on my own. I'm not saying that it was wrong of me to learn how to do any of those things when I was young, but what I am saying is I shouldn't have had to, out of necessity. It should have been something my parents taught me because they knew I would need to learn those skills to be a functioning adult, not having me function like an adult because I had to. With that being said, because I was trained to be a hyper-independent kid, I now struggle with being interdependent with others and even letting others do simple things for me because I feel guilty that someone is going out of their way to cater to me. I don't know if you can tell, but this is something I'm actively unlearning, and I plan to do a whole video on the art of receiving, so if that's something that interests you, like this video or leave a comment below saying I am open to receive. So, with all that being said, I don't know about you, but I am tired of playing it small in my life. I'm tired of shrinking myself to accommodate others. Who cares if people are jealous? Let them be jealous. Let people notice you. Let people bask in your beauty and everything that you are. The world loves beauty. People love beauty. And if you are that, then embrace it and live in it and bask in it. The reason why I started this channel is to challenge my belief that I have nothing of value to say or to give to others. I grew up being pretty shy and more on the reserve side, as I mentioned before. So I would always let others speak before me or over me and never really share my ideas. But as is in line with this video, I'm no longer playing it small this year, and neither should you. This channel is going to be about harsh truths and living in the reality of our world as a Black woman and how to use the current societal structure to your utmost benefit, because it's time to be selfish. I will be posting twice a week all January on Sundays and Thursdays to kick off the channel and once a week thereafter. So if you like this video, be sure to subscribe and join me in living our best lives in 2025 and beyond. My next video is going to be all about my strategy and my tips that I plan to implement this year to stay skinny and get the most out of life. I'll talk to you later, my ethereal beauties.